I am unknown to some of you. My name is George Hyder. My wife and I have been attending here since late in 2022. She and I both sing in the choir, so you don't see much of us unless you watch those robed figures going forward. Before I retired, I was, in the last 15 years of my working life, a professor at Valparaiso University. My field is Old Testament, and one of the things that I did in that capacity was to lead several classes over to Israel and Palestine that I entitled Encounters in the Holy Land. As a part of those trips, we would set as our objective not simply sightseeing, but also talking to people on both sides of the literal and figurative wall, hence Encounters in the Holy Land. The trip that my wife and I will be leading November 3rd to 12th is a little bit different. This trip will not be focused so much on talking to people on both sides of the wall as on supporting two of the partners that we have in the Holy Land. One of those partners you will hear much more about when our speakers arrive. That's Bright Stars of Bethlehem, which is the American support group for a university in Bethlehem called Dar al-Kalama University. We'll spend about half of our time on the trip in and around Bethlehem. And one of the things we'll be doing is trying to simply support the people there by our presence, meeting with faculty and students, touring the facility, and seeing the many things that they have going there. It's an extraordinary institution. Again, I don't want to step on the toes of our speakers too much, but just to capture it in a nutshell, Dar al-Kalama University is the only university in Palestine which is essentially devoted to the preservation of Palestinian culture. And that is done by preparing students, Arab Palestinian students, for vocations that they can reasonably hope to hold, such as tour guides, such as cooks, such as artists. There are a number of fields like that, and I anticipate that our speaker, whom I'll introduce when she arrives, will tell us much more about that. The other partner that we'll be visiting while we're over there is Augusta Victoria Hospital. Augusta Victoria Hospital is way up on the Mount of Olives, which is the mountain on the eastern side of Jerusalem. It was founded back in the 19th century by Germans, hence the name Augusta Victoria. Doesn't sound very Arabic to me. But in any event, they are, at this point, the most significant hospital providing services to Palestinians. There are some pretty bright red lines, as you're probably aware, in that part of the world, and you have to go to the right hospital. One of the things that we'll be doing is trying to support the work of Augusta Victoria Hospital by helping them for half to a full day, we're still working on that, in their olive harvest. They own many acres, or dunams, is a different measure they use over there, many dunams of olive trees, and they harvest the olives from those trees, press them, and sell the oil to support the hospital. So that will really be the focus of our attention while we're over there, is supporting Dar al-Kalama University by our presence and interaction with them, and Augusta Victoria Hospital in East Jerusalem by our presence and work with them. We'll be doing a number of other things. We will be seeing some sites. I can't imagine taking a group over there and not showing them at least Bethlehem, Jerusalem, and Nazareth. So we will be seeing those three areas. Also part of a day in Jericho and Qumran, which is where the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered. A number of very interesting and exciting places. Israel and Palestine is simply not a part of the world that you can cover in 1 week. And as I said, our focus is much more on the two specific partners that we have over there. Let me say a little bit also about the preparation that we're doing for that trip, which can involve you, even if you're not going on the trip, if you'd like. I will be leading 2 book discussion sessions, one tomorrow night at 7 o'clock in that room right there, the East Assembly room. And we will be discussing 2 books right here. Faith in the Face of Empire, published in 2014, and Decolonizing Palestine, the Land, the People, the Bible, published in 2023. Just to give a preview of coming attractions, one of the questions I'll be using as a prompt for the assembled group tomorrow night will be, okay, they're written by the same person, what changed in his mind over 10 years? Because there are some significant differences between the 2 books. They are both written by a Reverend Doctor, pastor, dear friend of mine, Mitri Raheb, who was for many years the pastor of Christmas Lutheran Church in Bethlehem. He also was the founder and is currently the president of Dar al-Kalima University. And so we'll be spending time with him while we're over there as an introduction to his thought. I've asked the group to read those 2 books. If you're interested and aren't going on the trip, all I ask you to do is run your eyes over the 2 books so that we don't have a lot of audience sitting around in a book discussion tomorrow night. But you're all welcome to that. As I say, in the East Room there, 7 o'clock tomorrow night. At 7 o'clock on Monday, the 20th of October, I'll be leading a second book discussion group, which will be on a book by Munter Isaac, who was Mitri's successor as the pastor at Christmas Lutheran Church. Munter's book is actually published this year, 2025, and it is entitled Christ in the Rubble. I asked the group to read that because that brings us right up to the present, practically. His main focus in that book is to discuss the effects of the Israeli warfare in Gaza, what the effects have been on Palestinians, and what he sees as both signs of hope and signs of discouragement. I will warn you, if you get into Munter's book, Mitri is a rather cerebral writer. I mean, he's got his heart in it, no question. He's a rather cerebral writer. Munter's book is a gut punch. And you just need to be aware of that going in. Okay, our guests are here. That's a brief introduction to the trip. Please keep us in your prayers. We'll be running from November 3rd to 12th. So please keep us in your minds and prayers at that point.
Greg.
Okay, we'll be getting set up here. Yes, Connie, please.
Can
Yes.
you tell us what members of Mount Olive are going to go on the trip with you? Okay.
We have a group of 19. I have not memorized the list yet.
Judy said she has.
But Judy can.
I think I can. 2 Hiders, 2 Hinks, 2 Johnsons, Brianna right here, these 2 guys right there, raise your hands. No, you're not going, those 2 guys. 1 Dynamic.
Rick's going, isn't he?
All three of us.
Three guys.
Oh, Reed's
in a row.
going, all three of them, sorry, all three of those guys. See, I thought I could do this, but apparently I can't. Carol's going, two pipcorns, Pastor Crippen. Oh, yes, sorry, those two, I said Laura. Dave and Greg, yes. Oh, and Jean's daughter. I think that's everybody. Andrea, Jean's daughter.
No roughs? No roughs?
No,
No, the roughs,
I'm a little mobility limited. So,
she thought surgery would limit her, and it did.
yeah.
So, anything else?
Any other questions? Yes, please.
Dave, what got you interested in this? What was the hook that got you interested in this from the standpoint of leading the groups, and was there an event that caused that for you?
Well, candidly, my first trip was in 2000 when I was serving as president of Concordia University in River Forest, Illinois. And my first trip over there was an alumni tour. And so we did use a Christian Palestinian tour group to guide us around there. 3 years later, as I was wrapping up my service at River Forest, it was my privilege to present Mitri Raheb with his first honorary doctorate. And that's where I got to know him. And as a consequence, every time that we've gone over there, I've been more and more drawn into his projects because I find myself very much in sympathy with what he's trying to do. Now, to be very clear to the group and anyone else who is listening, I take great care, number one, to make my own perspective clear. But number two, I'm not in the business of trying to convert you to my view of the Israeli-Palestinian situation. But no, my wife and I are deeply engaged in it. When my parents died, we gave a significant portion of my inheritance from each to Dar al-Khalami University, so that the head librarian's office is named for my late mother, the reader.
Oh, nice.
And the culinary training kitchen in the culinary school is named for my dad, the chef. So, in any event, yeah, we've maintained an ongoing relationship there and continue to be very invested. I'll be candid, I've been by Augusta, Victoria, but I've never been in it.
Oh,
Okay, so I learn something every time we go over there too.
thank you.
Yeah, sure. Any other questions? Anybody?
You want to introduce them? Are you guys ready to be introduced?
As soon as the woman brings my glasses, because I can't see right now.
Can I hold the computer for you?
No, actually, we're waiting for a table. There we
There it
go.
comes.
Thank
All right.
you. Yeah, I don't know where my glasses went, so please bear with me one more moment.
Yes, sir.
George, I see big news. UK, Australia, and Canada recognize Palestine as a state this morning.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. There are a number of Western countries that have made the decision to do that. I think what they're trying to do is make a clear statement that the two-state solution cannot be considered dead. There is, as you're well aware if you follow the news, a significant amount of pushing and pulling over whether such a thing should ever exist, particularly with the quite far right-wing government in the state of Israel right now. Prime Minister Netanyahu has said, not on my watch will there be a Palestinian state. And one of his ministers, the finance minister, Smotrich, has taken steps to try to set up settlements, more settlements, in such a way as to cut any prospective future Palestinian state in half. Great, terrific. Okay, with that, I can quit my stand-up routine here. And it's my great pleasure to introduce you to two friends of mine. Linda Edens is the vice chair of the board of Bright Stars of Bethlehem and also serves as the travel liaison. So she's been very helpful to Carolyn and Judy and me in planning the trip. And following the late service today, she will be meeting with all available members of the troop touring group to give us some practical tips on what you do and don't do when you travel to that part of the world. Is that a fair summary? All right, fair enough. The other person here today is the executive director of Bright Stars of Bethlehem, Tracie Ortman, and we're delighted to have them both. So please join me in welcoming. Just for your information, there's a wired mic back there, so when
So there are two
you're done,
mics.
when you're done, I'll ask you to use that, and I'll use this to take the questions.
Thank you, and first off, thank you for your patience as we were getting here a little bit later than we planned. So George did a great job introducing me. I've been on the board since 2018. I am now serving as vice chair of the organization. I'm the board liaison for Authentic Travel. I have led five groups to Palestine. I've been 7 times. And since October 7th, I now present across the country to groups on Palestine. So this is going to be your 60-second snippet history lesson, okay? So hold on tight here. But I want you to understand this as it goes, as it impacts what we're going to talk about today. Looking at this Shrinkage of Palestine series of maps, I want you to start on the left-hand side at 1917. That is when the Balfour Declaration occurred. That is when Lord Balfour declared that he was going to create a national home for the Jewish people, and he chose the land of Palestine. It is a settler colonial framework, which means it is a movement for the Jewish people to enter Palestine and then make it their own. 1946, this is post-World War II, this is post-Holocaust. There are Jewish people coming down from Europe into Palestine, and you see the white sprinkling, and that is the Jewish people. 1947 is important. That was the United Nations partition plan. They divided mandatory Palestine into 2 separate states. The Jewish state and the Arab state is how they refer to it as. The Jewish state was to take 55% of the territory. It wasn't a 50-50 starting out, and this was therefore not agreed upon by the Palestinian leaders at that time. 1967 was the Six-Day War. Israel continues to take more of the land. They occupy the West Bank. That is the big green, larger section, Gaza. Small little section on the left-hand side, East Jerusalem and the Golan Heights, which is Syria. Last map, it says now that is actually a viewing of 2012, to be honest, so it's even worse than what you see on that now, with the ongoing settler development, which, by the way, is deemed illegal. As per the 4th Geneva Convention, the international law says settlements are illegal. The green has shrunk even more. So now, to help you understand, there are now 23 Jewish settlers for every 100 Palestinians in the West Bank, or over 700,000 settlers. So what's happened since October 7th of 2023? Well, Gaza is the target genocide. And I use that word confidently because genocide has been discovered by B'Tselem, which is a human rights organization out of Israel. Amnesty International has called it that, the country of South Africa. The International Association of Genocidal Scholars has called it that, as well as mainstream media. 85% of Gaza is under Israeli militarized zone right now. Over 85%. Over 65,000 Gazans have been killed. That is as of September 17th. So as I've created this presentation, I updated it. I have been doing this now for 2 years, and I have to update it each time. And I, to be honest with you, was up at 11 o'clock last night trying to get the updated stats because things keep changing. 100% of the population of Gaza right now is in stage 5 critical food insecurity. It is famine. Gazans are dying. Children are starving. 1 million children right now in Gaza are in need of psychosocial support. And 2 million Gazans have been displaced multiple times. See our map of Minneapolis up there?
Not yet. Yes.
Here we go. Okay, to give you an understanding of the size of the Gaza Strip, because we're hearing it on the news, and to give you that understanding, there's a map of Minneapolis right now, and the blue perimeter is Gaza, and within that are 2.1 million Gazans. So as I said, 85% of Gaza is occupied as a militarized Israeli zone right now, but what does that mean? Well, since September 16th, Netanyahu has declared another mass offensive, this time in Gaza City, where 1 million Palestinians are residing right now. He has added 70,000 troops, plus drone, air, and ground offensives and bombings. These photos that I show you came from this week. Defense Minister Gatz has actually admitted to using starvation as a form of warfare. This is just an overall indication of the horror. Right now it says 700 days of genocide. I think it's 710. Over 90% of Gaza is destroyed. 162,000 are injured. 250 journalists have been killed. 1,600 plus medical personnel have been killed. This says 64,000 martyrs. It is now over 65,000. However, the Ministry of Gaza is saying it's more like 400,000 Gazans are killed because they cannot keep track of who is under the rubble. So how is the world responding to this? Well, there's a lot of good responses happening right now. I give you one example, and that is the Samud Global Flotilla. Now, if you haven't heard of this, this is a group of individuals, actually over 50 ships, with individuals from over 45 countries. And they are attempting to bring humanitarian aid into Gaza. There is actually the website, globalsamudflotilla.org. This group of boats started in the south of Spain. You can go on that website and track the boats as they are approaching. They are picking up 6 more boats when they get close to Cyprus. On these boats are activists such as Greta Thunberg, who we all know from Sweden, who is, she's a powerhouse. Mandela, who is Nelson Mandela's grandson, is on one of these boats. Susan Sarandon, actress from the United States, is on one of these boats. And speaking of actresses, the entertainment industry is pulling together, and I will start by saying 350 film industry figures at the Cannes Film Festival in France in May signed an open letter saying they opposed the genocide. Since then, on September 8th, there's been a pledge launched not to work with any Israeli film institutions. 1,300 actors and actresses from the United States signed that pledge, including, as I show you, Richard Gere, Susan Sarandon, Mark Ruffalo, Olivia Colman, and Billie Eilish from the music industry. World cities across the globe are protesting the genocide. And I list some cities that are doing such: London, Paris, Geneva, Belfast, Sydney, Tokyo, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago. I know Minneapolis has had its protests as well. On the far right is a picture of myself and my husband protesting when the Democratic National Convention was in Chicago this past summer. Our voices matter. Additionally, in terms of the Christian community, we would like to see much more response from the Christian community. However, there are good things happening, and I'll give you 2 examples. The PCUSA has passed a resolution, for example. They recognize that Israeli practices are apartheid. They're calling for an end to the occupation. They oppose the collective punishment of Gaza, and they're supporting actions of divestment and boycott. Same with the ELCA. They have petitioned U.S. leaders to end the genocide. They want to halt military aid to Israel. They're supporting Palestinian statehood. And most recently, a week ago, 100 ELCA Lutheran pastors went to Washington. They were on the ground of the Capitol. They were praying. They were singing. They were having speeches, peaceful protests, and they met with legislators to talk about the genocide, begging for it to stop. This is my pastor and our intern. Unfortunately, the U.S. is not doing what I would like to see them do. They are complicit in this genocide. Now, since October 7th of 2023, the United States has given $30 billion to Israel, unconditionally, except for one point, and that is that the money is used to buy weaponry from the United States of America. An additional $6 billion just this week, our president has signed that he is selling weapons, which include the Apache attack helicopters used by Israel. This is actually doubling their fleet in Gaza after this sale this week, and different infantry assault vehicles. UNICEF has stated that the Gaza Strip is the most dangerous place in the world to be a child. So that results in trauma. Now, there are lots of different traumas that we can talk about, and every single one relates to Gaza. It is human-caused. Humans intentionally designed this trauma. It is historical and generational, which means it is so widespread that we've got grandparents and parents and children, and epigenetically speaking, those children will carry that trauma into their children when they are grown. It is a mass trauma. It is affecting large numbers of people with significant loss of property and lives. It's something called developmental trauma, which means it is influencing the later development of these 1 million children, their adjustment, their physical and mental health. It is a war trauma, that's clear. It has lasting consequences. These people feel uncertainty, anxiety, fear. It is threatening the very existence of their being. It is a refugee trauma. These people have been displaced multiple times. It is re-traumatizing. So these are people that have witnessed war before. Mitri Raheb talks about a statistic where if you are a child you are 18 years old in Gaza, you have experienced 6 wars in your lifetime, but nothing like this. And it's complex. It is pervasive, and it has prolonged effects. We all know the phrase PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, but something that I have studied and thought about, and Mitri talks about, is PTSD versus CTSD, continual traumatic stress disorder. Now, our medical community does not recognize that as a diagnosis right now, but this is what is happening there. Mitri's quote, "People talk about post-traumatic stress, but for us, there is no post. The trauma is ongoing. Keeping our people safe is incredibly difficult. When you see your mother in pieces, your father under the rubble, and your friends are gone." So the effects of all of this trauma are wide. Emotionally, we have generations now experience anxiety, depression, fear, grief, shock. There's physical effects of tremors, shaking, fatigue, startled response, digestive issues, nightmares, inability to sleep. There's cognitive issues. These people have a distortion of space and time. They don't know where they're at, what time it is, how many days they've been experiencing this. They are completely preoccupied with this event. And behaviorally, there's sleep disturbances. They have either a decreased activity level or a constant upped activity level. They're withdrawn. They're unable to even engage. And we know, those of us in the trauma field, that the more prolonged the conflict, the more severe the symptoms. But Mitri Raheb and Dar al-Khalima University understood that, and they responded. In 2018, the original concept paper was written for the Gaza Training Center. That is our satellite campus within Gaza, which was in existence until Lent of last year when Israel bombed our campus. In that Gaza statement, it is written, "Artists are born out of the womb of suffering." So with the thought process of the Gaza campus in 2019, they hoped that by 2021, we would be building artist skills in Gaza, we would be hosting exhibitions in Gaza, and we would develop a volunteer crew that would work with children within the community of Gaza City where our campus was. And that all happened. Here are some pictures from exhibitions. There were courses in photography, painting, and filmmaking those first couple years, and there are some examples of the children. As I said, we had the campus in Gaza. Initially it was in the French Cultural Center, and then we secured a beautiful old building in Gaza City. And then the picture on the right is the bombing. We hoped in 2023 that 200 children, this was written in the strategic plan of our Gaza program, that 200 children could and would benefit from the programs. There we go. Needed me to shake my fist. Since October 7th of 23, in the last 21 months, our Gaza training volunteers have reached 20,000 children in Gaza. We have hosted psychosocial and arts therapy activities to help them process their trauma, their emotions, their grief, and their loss. We hoped for 200 children. We have reached 20,000. This is a picture of Gaza and a map. It is actually on our website, so you can look more closely at it later on if you want to. But the circular numbers are where our volunteers were located across Gaza at the time. This was through April of 25. Now, I don't think that that is accurate. I think most of our volunteers are kind of congregating where you see Gaza. That is Gaza City up at the top of the map. That's where most of our volunteers are. By April of 2025, we were reaching over 18,000 children. Like I said, now the number is 20,000, and we have hosted over 8,000 different activities for these children. So you might sit there and go, well, where are they getting the art supplies? What are you doing? You know, how do you do that in the midst of a war? Well, we have an incredible program director and commitment from our volunteers like nothing I could have ever imagined. I'm going to show you the next 5 slides are just examples of these activities and the creativity and the ingenuity of what they're doing. This project, for instance, was called Friend My Country's Clay. And using materials from the ground, these children were creating pieces to represent a home that they lost perhaps. Items of safety, items of beauty, knowing that they had the power to create that when everything around them was being destroyed. There you go. Another project was entitled Remnants of War. And with this, they were turning shards of glass, collecting shards of glass off the streets and turning them into different artistic forms inspired by nature. Stars, fish from the sea, flowers that they remembered. This project was entitled Art from Waste. They were transforming discarded materials that they found in garbage dumps. They were collecting cardboard, paper, glass, creating things of beauty. You can see these were things that perhaps the children were dreaming of, remembering, hoping for. A bicycle, the seaside, a home with beautiful grass and a fireplace. They also involve themselves with puppetry. Puppetry is a very effective tool in trauma. When individuals cannot verbalize what they're feeling, it is remarkable what they will verbalize through a puppet. So our team allowed the children to make puppets and talk about, through those puppets, scenarios of family, of identity, and destruction. They had multiple opportunities to work on personal expressions of their culture. Here's an activity where they just took torn paper and they were creating some of the beautiful costumes and clothing that the women wear. Oops. And this was called A Dream Built with Creativity. Children built homes from cardboard. This was very in the beginning when homes were being destroyed and families were being put into tents. They took these recycled materials and created homes that they envisioned as being wonderful, dreaming of safety and of warmth. Right now, we are in the start of the fall semester at Dar el Kalima University, and even though close to 90% of Gaza is completely flattened, we do have access, intermittent access, and over 2,000 Gazan students are registered to participate in classes right now. As things have amped up in Gaza City and things are getting harder and harder, we know that right now there's about 390 that can access online courses, but they are wanting it desperately. I talked about the reason this program is so phenomenal is because of a program director. There is a picture on the screen of me with a woman by the name of Rana El Batwari. In 2019, when the Gaza campus was conceptualized and decided this was going to be a go, we needed a director in Gaza. Rana and her family were living in Bethlehem at the time, and she voluntarily took her family from the West Bank and moved to the Gaza Strip to run our program. We held an international conference at the university the week before October 7th, where we had people from 25 different countries come to talk about art and resistance. Rana was granted a permit by Israel to exit Gaza and come to the conference. So this is a picture of us standing in the courtyard of the university at that time. I had the pleasure to meet her and talk about the programs in Gaza. This picture was taken on October 5th. I flew home on October 6th, and she returned to Gaza on October 6th. On October 7th, the bombs hit. She has since had the opportunity to exit Gaza through Egypt with her children. Her husband was left there. He has now joined her, but she now resides with her family in France. She is still our program director. She is running all of the programs from France. That's remarkable. And now I'll turn it over to Tracie Ortman to talk about the West Bank. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm going to take just a couple of minutes to share what's happening because we have another church down the street that can't wait to see us too. We're spreading the message, so when you hear people are doing things and they're excited, they are. Linda will stay with you to answer some questions and do the travel part later. But what we are seeing, we'll see if it's going to change on me. Come on.
There you go.
Let me, okay, this is a slide I'm going to leave it on while I talk. So, Bright Stars of Bethlehem is the 501c3 for Dar al-Khalmeh University, that beautiful university you've been hearing all about. And our mission is to raise support and awareness for Dar al-Khalmeh University, the first and only university for arts, culture, and design in all of Palestine. You've heard about our Gaza section and how many more children and families we've been able to reach. What you may not know is we have a location in Bethlehem, where that's our main campus, and right now there are 520 students. Enrollment, despite everything, has been stable or growing, which has been amazing. But with that, 41% of our students need scholarships, and we're able to provide that. We have female leadership, and making sure it's a safe space for female students is a priority of the university, which is why you see that 67% number. 67% of our students are female. 75% of our vice presidents are female, and 50% of our staff and deans are female. As Mitri likes to tell us, the men at the university are here to listen to all the women, tell them how they need to be running this because they have the answers. We're just going to keep going about that. So, we have 5 colleges, you can see those on the screen, that cover tourism, jewelry making, culinary arts, filmmaking, art restoration, we have performing arts, visual arts, arts management, again, that strong focus on the arts and culture because that's how people experience new places to travel, new ideas, and it's a welcoming way to get to know people. When we focus on all of this, we are bringing the hope. The thing that we are most excited about is everything we've accomplished in the past year. To accomplish this stuff normally would be hard enough. To accomplish it in the climate that we've been challenged with is even harder. When we went in March, we opened this beautiful hospitality education center. It is a 360-degree glass dome that looks out over the region. The thing about that is our students in the culinary arts are learning hands-on how to run and manage a restaurant, which means when our groups go and take a tour, they can get that firsthand experience and see what our students are learning, see the product of the hard work. And you can see that with some of our videos as well online. When we went in March, one of our graduates followed us around for 4 days, and every video you see on our website, he took the footage. We send these students out with solid careers, with that idea that there is a hope for tomorrow, and it's not a fake hope. This is a real kernel of hope for stability and careers, because we know this will end, we just don't know how. That's why we come to groups like you. Help us continue that hope, because we have these students who get to graduate. We have these students who are staying in the region. You know, you hear that idea of brain drain, where students leave and go somewhere else. I'm sure Minneapolis experiences the same thing. Our students stay. As Mitri has told me in the past, about 95% of our students go to the university with the plan of staying in the region to continue its growth. Our next things that we are working on include building a new building, the Educational Design Hub, which is for interior design, graphic design, and it is on the remaining corner we have for the university on the street, and it will have a full shop for people to come in and purchase items when they're there that are made by our students. Much like this, I know most of you can't see it, this lovely necklace that we brought back. It's another way to continue supporting culture, arts, and education.
Question about other areas of focus as far as education. Are there other opportunities for Palestinian students to go to look for some other line of work or besides these? And knowing nothing about the area, is there any other kind of university for, say, if you want to be a nurse or a doctor?
There are other universities in the area. I'm not as well versed in everything they teach, but there are universities in the area, and we talk about how enrollment by university is shrinking by geographical area. But I can't tell you everything all the other universities teach.
I can just quickly answer that. Palestinians value education and learning, and there are over 40 universities within Palestine right now. When Mitri Raheb had the vision of creating Dar al-Kalima University, he wanted to fill the void of our culture is being stripped away. Everything that we have is being stripped away. Art is an avenue to maintain that, to maintain one's identity and to document history, if you will. So that was his first element of thinking about it. And second, within Bethlehem, for example, 70% of the economy is based on tourism. So that is guiding, that is restaurants, that is artisan shops, that is music, all of those things. So this fills a very important niche, if you will, that had not been addressed by any of the other universities.
Thank you. Thank you.
And to go along with that, the other thing we opened in March was the Rami Zahi Khoury Innovation and Entrepreneurship Hub. Say that 5 times fast. That hub, we have businessmen in the area working with our master's degree students to create business ideas that they can take with them in the future and support themselves. One of our favorites was we met Amira, a young lady who presented to us in their boardroom, where she talked about her project, which is Palestine. Palestine is where she has created signs depicting, thank you for finding my slide, for depicting all of the things that Palestinians would need to know. Her story, when she looked at me, was, there she is, was when I took my driver's test, I was really nervous. And I said, oh, I can understand that. And she goes, I think we kicked something. There we go. She said, I was kind of scared. And that's a natural reaction. I go, oh yeah, most of us are scared. And she goes, I wasn't scared that I would fail my test. I was scared I wouldn't know where it was safe for me to turn, and I would get someplace that was physically unsafe for me to be. Think about that. She was afraid she was going to turn down a street and somebody was going to welcome her with a gun. That was her concern. And she said, so I got thinking about this, that I wish there were road signs to tell me what was safe, that this is an okay place for Palestinians, that I shouldn't bring this into this area, that there's a checkpoint coming up that may or may not be open or closed, so I know I may be sitting there for hours on end. And she goes, obviously we can't put these signs up, but I want to give stickers and water bottles a chance. I want people in the area to feel solidarity because they can purchase this and see it from another Palestinian without putting them in danger. And I want to make a guide for tourists coming in so they understand what we go through. This guide will include what can be in each area and what can't. Like you can't bring parsley into Gaza. Yeah, you can't bring parsley into Gaza. I don't know what they have against parsley. Maybe it tastes soapy. I don't know. But they said then we can explain that if you're ill or injured, you can't go to a hospital here. That it's not safe to go here. And then ask tourists to go into those same areas and see how very drastically different their experience is, and then write it down. These are the kind of ideas coming out of our university. We also have music therapy, where our master's students have just printed a book that has QR codes. It's in Arabic right now, they're working on the English version, where you can scan it from your phone wherever you're at and get a 7-minute session of music therapy. They are currently designing virtual reality to go with these sessions, so you can be guided through it. And they have sat there and said, we keep it to 7 minutes because when we do the virtual reality, that is the time limit that if you have motion sickness and get disoriented, it won't affect you. They have cutting edge programs and professors to support them. And that's why we're here, is to keep that going. So we ask you to join us in doing this and continuing hope. And I'm going to hand it back over to Linda to answer questions because our nice church down the street would like me to get there for their presentation.
Thank you so much. If I can have you use this mic, and I will take this around to people asking questions.
Best to answer it as I can.
Well, while there are some thoughts being organized, perhaps, I'll ask one. In your portrayal of the flotilla, I noticed that it's titled Sumud, S-U-M-U-D, which has become a very significant word in Palestine these days. Could you please explain that concept to the group?
The concept of Sumud?
Sumud, yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. So, it is very much a concept that's been talked about and embraced by the ELCA. So what used to be Peace Not Walls, I think, is now been re-entitled Sumud. Sumud is the concept for Palestinians of resilience, of steadfastness, of strength, of moving through something and not letting it destroy them. So the current flotilla embraced that name into its group of boats because that is what those boats represent. Nothing will stop them type of attitude.
Thank you. Other questions? Anybody? Let me bring the mic to you if I can, Rob.
Thanks, George. Thank you so much for the presentation. My knowledge of this is, an inch deep and an inch wide. So, I saw a headline last week, and I didn't have an opportunity to read the whole article yet, but I think it was from the New York Times, that said that despite everything that has happened in Gaza, that Hamas is still very powerful there. And I didn't read the article to say, is it powerful militarily, or is it powerful somehow culturally or psychologically or whatever. And I'm just curious about how you view Hamas at this point, and because it seems hard to talk about what goes on there without talking about Hamas as well. And maybe I'm misunderstanding, but that would be my question for you.
Okay, that is a very big question.
In 30 seconds.
And you know what? That could be a whole course in itself. So I don't know if I feel right touching on it without giving it what it deserves. But what I will tell you is at the beginning, October 7th, 2023, that was not the start of this, okay? So we need to remember that. Secondly, at the beginning, October 7th, 2023, the U.S. State Department itself identified 20 to 22,000 Hamas members in Gaza. That is within a population of 2.1 million. Thank you. So they right now do not know who's in there. Benjamin Netanyahu can say, I have found this person, or I have found that person, and maybe that's true, and maybe that's not. I'm not here to say that. What I do know is that the bombing going on right now is bombing that is against international law. Children are not to be bombed. Schools are not to be bombed. Church is not to be bombed, etc., etc. Using the mentality that we're doing that because we think they're there is a strategy. But for me and my heart and my Christian faith, what I see happening in Gaza is unadulterated genocide. I'm going to leave it at that.
Well, it would seem as though that you can drive people, well, never mind, you're leaving it there, so I'll leave it there too.
Yeah, that's a very lengthy conversation, and you know what, I am happy to provide you different readings for you to learn a bit more about Gaza and Hamas and its existence there as the group that is committed to the liberation of Palestine. And so we can talk afterwards. I'm happy to exchange my info with you.
Laura, it may be helpful to know that the third book I'm asking the group to read before we go, by Munter Isaac, Christ in the Rubble, is focused on Gaza and does comment at some length on Hamas, both positively and negatively. Other questions, please?
I don't know how well you can summarize it, but I think that region, people think of Muslims, people think of Jewish people. Can you talk about the current Lutheran world there, or the kind of Protestant side of things, and how
Within Gaza or the West Bank?
Palestine.
In Palestine, yes, there is an active Christian community in Palestine. Bethlehem, there are enclaves of Christianity. The area of Jericho is one of them. The area of Bethlehem is another. That being said, Christians and Muslims reside together in a peaceful coexistence. And to give you a perfect example, on one of my first trips, we were at this was before I was informed and just kind of taking it all in. We were at a woodworker's shop in Bet Sahor, and the man was working and doing his thing, and somebody within the group asked, is he a Muslim or is he a Christian? And so our guide shared in Arabic to the woodworker that question, and they both kind of laughed, ha 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 ha. And we said, well, what's funny? We're missing the joke. And their response was, we are brothers under the same God. So that kind of summarizes that. But, the ELCA has a strong existence in Palestine. And I know that this church and the group that's going in November will visit some of their solidarity partners there.
Okay, we have time for one or two more questions. Lisa.
And not necessarily a question for you, Linda, but just a little background. Again, I'm Lisa Ruff, Director of Global Ministry, where, of course, we know we're having a partnership trip, and we have people from this congregation who will be learning firsthand and walking in a partnership presence
with both of our partners. But I did want to tell, because Tracie had mentioned, if you want to support Bright Stars of Bethlehem through our 4% tithe, Mount Olive does that. But if you personally want to get involved more, on the church website donation drop-down menu under Global Ministry, there is a Bright Stars, or you can use a blue envelope or write a check. Anything else Global Ministry related? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that.
Okay, one last question, anyone?
This is probably a matter of stating the obvious, but the irony of Israel's, you know where I'm going with this.
I know where you're going with this.
The irony of it, of there being a genocide when they themselves have been the victim of genocide, it reminds me, I can't remember who said it, we become what we hate. And
The oppressed becomes the oppressor.
oppressor, exactly. The abuser, the abused become the abuser, you know, kind of thing. I guess this is just my internal frustration, but why can't they see that? Why don't they recognize it? Has the world community even broached that subject with them, or is it something? I mean, is the books? I've read 2 of the books, and it is the American religious right is doing no favors to Palestine. In fact, quite the opposite.
Quite the opposite. Well, and you know, I have a whole separate presentation on what I refer to as the root causes of what's happening. And I really delve into the U.S. complicity more than just $30 billion. There's a lot more than that. The right conservative Christians in this country have incredible power, and they are now holding positions in our government. There is the phrase, never again. And that is what the Jewish community is embracing. But never again means never again for anyone, right? So I'm as baffled as you are. And again, the world is standing up, and as I said, they are recognizing the UN just had another vote this week to end this. And the United States was the veto. Okay? If the United States government would change what they're doing, this could not happen. Like I said, we're doubling their fleet of Apache helicopters which bomb. That's us. You know, so protests matter. You know, advocating matters. Contacting your Congress matters. It's going at a snail's pace, but there is a shift. It's slow, but it's this to me is like my grandchildren will be reading about this, right? So.
Linda, thank you so much.
Thank you, George. I appreciate it.
Let me say just a brief word
Oh, yeah, one more
about
thing. We've
Go
got,
ahead.
yeah, go ahead, George.
I was just going to say, there are 4 books on order or on sale up here by Mitri Raheb. The 2 that I have asked our group to read are Faith in the Face of Empire and Decolonizing Palestine. So I put those at the top of my list, but there is also a very recent anthology of chapters by various scholars on current issues in Palestine, especially including Gaza. So if you're interested, you can see Linda up here. Some of us need to tear off to choir before the cantor has our scalps.
These books are for sale. We also have a couple of copies currently in our library. So if you look around, they're in the library. Okay.
And if there's a book that you want, like, this thing is selling out, we can't keep enough, but they are all available on Amazon as well, so.
Thank you. Thank you. And those who are traveling, we'll see you after second service downstairs.
This for me?